With some examples even. So in the previous class we come across one topic, that is Android life cycle. How many of you deploy that app in your mobiles and check the states of activity? I shared one APK file. How many of you installed that one? Can anyone unmute
Sir,
and
it is not
speak?
download, sir. It is showing app uninstalled.
Man, let me speak clearly.
The APK file what you have sent is not installing, sir.
It will ask to install yes or no. You do one thing, you go to the file structure inside, you can find file explorer is there, one folder. There you can find all the
Okay, sir.
downloads. From that you install again. It will
Okay,
ask
sir.
whether you want to install yes or no. You proceed, and sometimes it will say that some viruses are carrying like that. Nothing will. It is
So,
authenticated
while
app.
have that, I have installed this, sir. Though it is asking for the permissions, I accepted the permissions and I started installing. It is showing that app not installed, sir.
No, 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 no. It has to install. Definitely, it works fine. The thing is, do one thing. You go to the file explorer. There, inside downloads, you find that APK file, and you please install one by one. Why? Because two files will
Okay,
have
sir.
the same name, right? So first you
Where?
download
Okay.
lifecycle file, APK, install, and check the states of activity and minimize that. And you see on
Okay, sir.
create, on start, on resume, and whenever you just minimize on stop, and whenever you remove that from the memory, on desktop will be shown. Whenever you revoke again, it shows on restart again and all. You please check the states once. And tomorrow we
Okay,
will
sir. I'll
work
try
on
it again.
just try. Not only one person, everyone has to test at least how you are going to be installed. Why? Because these are raw material which is coming from unauthenticated area. That's why the mobile first it won't accept. You go to that particular download folder and install again. Definitely it works. Next we will see user interface and some layouts and some applications today. So what is an interface first? User interface. So mobile will support graphical user interface. User can interact with the mobile using GUI facility, graphical user interface facility. Everything we can find certain pictures, icons, some graphics is available, and even we can touch, we can give commands through some text or by touching. So all these comes under user interfaces. So usually user interface we can design in three ways. So like that, first one is either by means of writing entire Java code inside activity file, you just write all the information by means of Java code, or you may design by means of XML file inside activity underscore main.xml file in the form of drag and drop pictures, drag and drop controls and all inside XML file. The third method is by using both, right? So we can create user interface. You can design some graphics by means of complete Java code or complete XML file or the mixture of both. You may use XML and Java altogether to define some interfaces. So the third approach is a combination of both is highly preferred. So usually we are writing, so defining some controls and defining some relations, all things done inside XML file. The action part will be defined inside Java file. These two link together by means of r dot reference, r dot id dot r dot layout dot like that, and you are making use of these two and we are running with it. So the default layout in which the controls or views are usually arranged in relative layout. So whenever you open Android project by means of Eclipse, the system will choose the default layout is relative layout. So in this relative layout, only one advantage is that all controls are linked with a proper relation. Whenever you are defining a control, say for example, whenever you are putting a box, text box, or whenever you are putting one button, that button will maintain a relation to the what you can say screen or to the previous controls and so on. So some outer lines will be shown on the screen. Already we come across this. I'll show you again. So it shows like this. Is it visible? మాకు కనబడుతుంది ఇక్కడ. So whatever the hello world you are supposed to print, that label, that text view will have the relation to the four dimensions or four screen areas. So left side how far it is, from top how far it is, and right side how far it is. So like that we need to fix the control based on. So that is the main advantage of this relative layout. Okay, Namma, whenever you drag and drop, also it looks like this same. Say for example, I want to add one button. See here, are you notice any outlines here? Am I, is it visible to you or not? In the pink side, I
Yes,
am
sir.
just dragging. I didn't drop now, just I am showing the outer lines. So from left side or center or right side like that. So these are the relations which it maintains, right? So whenever you see the code, the button is defined here. It is left the width and height, and layout editor absolutely, and it is showing the information, and the left off right off to the parent and all. ఇది ఒకసారి మీరు ప్రాక్టికల్గా చూస్తే అర్థమవుతుందమ్మా ఇది. ద ఓన్లీ థింగ్ ఈజ్ వెన్ ఎవర్ యూ ఆర్ డ్రాగ్ అండ్ డ్రాప్ ఎనీ కంట్రోల్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐ వాంట్ టు డ్రాగ్ రేడియో బటన్. సో ఆన్ ప్లేసింగ్ రేడియో బటన్, so it shows outer lines where it is, where we want to keep this radio button, right? Or if you want to drop any image, just drag and drop image here. So we are maintaining the relations. Why? Because we are using the layout, relative layout. So in Eclipse, as far as our syllabus concerned, whenever you are using Eclipse, the default layout is a relative layout, where you are maintaining a relation between all the controls, right? So these are the commonly used layouts. So we will see all these layouts once we enter into this particular area. The layouts are known as containers or view groups. So layout in the sense, these are the container where you are going to be fix the controls, where you are going to be use a graphical user interactions, or the controls where you are going to be fixed, that we can call it as a layout. In a linear layout, usually it looks like this. It comes in a horizontal way or a vertical way. Is it visible to you all, the screen?
Yes,
Convert on
sir.
the screen. So whenever you are using the linear layout, say for example, the system will be assigned in two different ways. Whether you are going to be fix the controls in vertically like this, or controls horizontally like this. So it looks like this. Say for example, I would like to maintain three buttons. Three are fixed in vertical fashion. Sorry, horizontal fashion. So like that, you may fix either linearly, row wise, or column wise. So we will discuss all these things in detail later. And a relative, which is right now we are using whenever you are fixing a control, that control will be maintain a relation by showing dotted lines. Where it is fixed, it is fixed left of the parent or right of the parent. It shows all the dots, all the outer lines of that particular parent screen containers, or uh, the controls which already fixed on the screen. It maintains the relation to each and every control. The main advantage whenever you tilt mobile in horizontal, the controls are going to be rearranged in such a way that it never get distorts, right? So this is the main advantage of using this relative layout. It is a default one. So next one is absolute. So it is almost deprecated. We are not using this. So here you are representing very specifically. Say for example, this is a button. The button where it is going to be fixed, we need to represent the coordinate values, x and y coordinate values. So on that particular x and a particular y, you are fixing the control. This is the button will be fixes here. For example, if you want to fix a picture, if you want to fix inside a particular area, we need to mention the x and y coordinates. This is somehow different for different screen sizes. It's a very difficult to maintain a different information for different screens. That's why it is no more in use. Very few are using this absolute layouts. Absolutely, you are fixing the control position where the button is, where the text box is, where the drop down list is on the screen. If you tilt in horizontal, the positions will move in a different fashion. It is not in a proper way. That's why it is no more in use nowadays. And the next one is a frame layout. Here, whenever you are fixing a control, the system will fix that one at the top left of the layout. Say for example, take this picture. First, say for example, first you insert one picture. The picture will be fitted in the entire screen. The first picture is fitted in entire screen. Next, say for example, if you mention any image, that that image is going to be fixed on the control which is already exist, which is overlap. So one onto the another. It maintains a stack of one onto the top in the form of a stack, like fixing the controls one onto the top. For example, if you want to add a name or text any information, that will be fixed on all the above controls. So this is a frame layout usually. So it always starts fix the controls from top left onwards and fix one after one on the above, like maintaining a stack. This is one of frame layout. And the next table layout, already we come across in Java. What is grid layout, table layout? So like that is here also same. Inside table layout, we can fix the rows in row wise and column wise. How many controls are supposed to fix in row? And in each row, how many controls are going to be segregated in the form of columns and so on. So you are going to be fix the controls row wise and column wise. Second, Okay, get back. Sorry for this. Actually, the discussion is going on CDS registrations only. If any student didn't receive mail from confirmation mail from CDS, you please inform me immediately. Some students they said we didn't receive mail like this, and
సార్ మెయిల్ అంటే ఆస్పైరింగ్ మైండ్స్ నుంచి వచ్చింది సార్.
aspiring minds నుంచే వస్తుందమ్మా మోస్ట్లీ.
ఎస్
కొంతమందికి
సార్
రాలేదని
అదే
పెట్టినారు ఇట్లా. జయశ్రీ అండ్ స్వాభావిక అండ్ జయశ్రీ రెండు సార్లు రంగారెడ్డి గారి జయశ్రీ, పి జయశ్రీ అండ్ వన్ మోర్ ధరణి. అమ్మ దీనికి ఒకటే లాజిక్ చూడండి, మీకు మెయిల్స్ రాలేదంటే ఎక్కడో తప్పు చేసినారని మళ్ళీ రిజిస్టర్ అయిపోండి. ఫస్ట్ చెక్ చేసుకోండి, స్పామ్లో ఎక్కడెక్కడన్నా ఉందేమో చెక్ చేసుకోండి, లేదంటే మళ్ళీ ఇమ్మీడియట్గా రిజిస్టర్ అయిపోండి. ఓకే, I'll come to the conclusion later. This is a grid layout where you are going to be maintained in the form of grids. ఇవన్నీ మళ్ళీ చూద్దాం అమ్మ ఉదారి. ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ layout will have a in detail discussion. And these are the controls which we use frequently in designing interface. The first one is the text view. It is a static text which appear on the screen. So whenever you want to write any information statically, it should be appear on the screen. We use text views like username, password. So writing username, or you want to add some static information, one paragraph of things, some instructions, such things you can define by means of a text view. It doesn't interact with us. Coming to edit text box, it is as same as text box in HTML. So in this text box, it is editable, where you can type some name, some string that we can receive. Okay, so static text అనేది ఏమి ఉండదు, బట్ ఎడిట్ టెక్స్ట్ అనేది ఒక చెక్ బాక్స్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది, టెక్స్ట్ బాక్స్. దేర్ we need to type the code. For example, I can enter some name here, I can type some name here, right? So such things done by means of edit text. Next one is the list view. It's a view group that creates and manages vertical list. So the list will be like this, and we're having one down arrow here. Once you click, it drop down all the information. It shows all the list of things there in that. ఇవన్నీ మనకు తెలుసమ్మా. స్పిన్నర్ ఆల్సో ద సేమ్, associated with the list of items that allows to select an item from the list. A group of information where you are going to be choose one, and the button is to give some action on clicking. ఒక బటన్ క్రియేట్ చేసి you can maintain some actions, click and release. And we know very well about the check boxes. The check boxes will have like this, where whenever you click on that, it enables the checkbox, right? And the radio buttons are a different one. Radio buttons are looks like this. Among two or three, you can enable only one radio button. But checkboxes are not like that. We can go for enabling more than one checkboxes. So usually radio buttons are referring for male and female. Either of male and female, only one will be active. Yes or no? If you click the female, male will be deactivated. If you click the male, female will be deactivated. That's the group acts like this. That's the radio buttons. The checkboxes is not like that. Say for example, I want to note down how many languages the student knows. For example, the first box is English, the second is Telugu, the third one Hindi, and so on. So how many he knows, he enable all the information. So more than one can enable by means of checkboxes, but coming to radio buttons, it is not the case. Either of only one will be active. These are all the sum of controls which we fix on the user screen in order to communicate with the system or a mobile. And whenever you are working with this, we need to do some event handling things. In Java also we are having listeners. Whenever any event occurred, so we need to initiate that event, and we need to do certain actions for that. So the listeners will come into picture and accept the event and hand out to the listeners. The listener will act accordingly. Say a simple example, think that we are having one button. After filling all the information, say for example your name, your qualification, your experience, and so on, you filling all the form, biodata form, say for example, or then you are having one button, submit button. So whenever you click the submit button, so what happened? the entire data is going to be handed out to the server or another end. So the action here it is taking all the information. So to whom you are submitting, so listeners will decide. So button whenever you click, so that is an event. So event in the sense whenever you click a button that event is occurred. So we can say that the event is occurred. So immediately what happened? Listeners will listen what exactly the event is. So button is clicked. So what are the next things? The listener appropriate action is going to be handed out to the on-click listeners. Those listeners will listen. So what's the action we need to do? So on clicking submit button, so we need to take all the data and hand out to some other end. That is the action done by the uh, event listeners. So this is a very simple thing, and based on this, we need to write many more applications. We are writing, we are interacting, not only clicking a button whenever you touch a screen. So we need to write some listeners for that, right? So that's the things. So the action is clicking, say for example, pressing enter key or performing any action. That's an event. Event is occurred. So whenever you click a button, whenever you tap a screen, or whenever you do some action, that actions are events. The reaction to the event, that is action to be taken. So whenever event is occurred, we need to do some action, that is event handling. So that comes under event. So how we are going to be handle that event is occurred, so we need to do what action to that particular event. So to handle a event, we need the listeners. The listeners are the actions which will be defined. When an event occurs, the listeners detect it and direct the program to appropriate functions or methods. So that's the main information of a main thing of listeners. We will see all this using a simple program. See here event handling. So a event listener is an interface with a view class. So inside a view class, we can find these listeners, event listeners. And whenever an event is occurred, so some callback methods are going to be initiated. Means the callback in the sense whenever event is occurred, we are not supposed to call appropriate listeners. The system will callback automatically on that particular methods. Say for example for button, whenever you click the button, the event is occurred, on click is going to be initiated. So this is a method which is going to be executed on clicking a button. That comes under callback method, right? So usually these things done sometimes by means of activity class or sometimes anonymous classes. I'll show you the difference what is anonymous classes and activity class and answered. So one more thing is whenever any event is occurred, so we need to mention the on-click listener method, set on-click listener method. But these are the predefined methods which will invoke automatically based on the event. So we will work with this simple program. First one is event handling. So what is an event? Whenever event is occurred, what action to be done? So who are going to be listen these events? So these are the three things happen here, and usually the events are going to be generated by means of three ways. The first one is anonymous class. So here we are not mentioning what exactly the thing, we are putting all together in a single statement itself. We can call it as the inline operations. The second thing is on-click listener interface. You are implementing one listener interface, that is on-click listener, on-change listener. Like that, we are having different listener interfaces. We are implementing one interface. The third one is instead of writing inside Java code, you may write one XML statement or XML property inside XML code, and we can initiate appropriate control in the Java code. Am I clear? I'll show you through program. The first thing is anonymous way, inline representation. In the line itself, you are representing the event, listeners, and actions. The second thing is you are implementing one listener interface and you are calling appropriate method. The third one is you are defining XML, inside XML, one attribute with the name of onClick and initiating appropriate things. See the first thing. So creating a one anonymous inner class. In this method of event handling, we must define one listener inlinely. Inline means in the line itself, in the code itself. We can call it as anonymous way of representing on-click listener things. So you are defining the on-click listeners anonymously in the line itself. We are expanding continuously on-click listener and also on-click method. Okay. So see a simple code here. I'll show you the text which is previous program. Are you noticing this? Is it visible? Think that we are having one button. Okay, button ఉందనుకోండి. I'll show you one program. That button will have an ID is B1. So whenever you click the button, so what happened? The system will call this B1 dot, the button reference B1 dot set on click listener. So whenever event is occurred, whenever you click the button, so what happened? The system is going to be initiate the listeners, on click listeners. So along with the reference B1 dot set on click listener, which accepts one listener interface. We need to create one listener interface inlinely in the line itself. New followed by on click listener. This will call a method on click method. So all these are defined inside the listener interface itself, on click listeners only. So inside you are representing a method with the name of onClick, which will receive one reference for the view class. The view will have all these references. All these listeners will be defined inside view class. Don't forget. So, and we need to mention what the actions you are supposed to do here. You mention all these inside onClick method. So please remember, so the button is clicked. Means you are initiating, you are creating one event, button clicked. Now we need to call the listeners. So along with the reference b1 dot set on click listener is going to be initiated. This on click listener will implement one listener, on click listener, that is comes from the interface on click listener interface. This is the new instance which is going to be created and hand out to the set on click listener reference as a reference. Now that will be called method automatically on click method. This should done automatically one after one. That's why you can call it as callback methods. We are not calling on click method explicitly by our own. The system is going to be called, the button is clicked, so we are the system is going to be initiate on click method, which is defined inside set on click listeners. So these are the listeners which will listen the event and initiate appropriate method to execute, to perform the statements. So whatever the actions you are supposed to do, you mention all the actions inside on click method. So here I would like to do some actions. Those actions are going to be defined inside on click method. Now here the braces is opened, here the braces is ended, and the bracket is opened here and closed here and putting semicolon here itself. So you are putting in a single line the entire statement. That's why you can call it as an inline or anonymous class listeners. But for our understanding sake, I just making the lines of one by one. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? Please unmute and speak anyone. See here, already we come across this simple program. Amma, is it visible to you or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'll do one thing.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
open new project. Say for example, take the new project. So no activity, blank activity. So I'll take the empty activity. So I would like to define my own actions, my own activity, my own Java file. So I take empty activity. For example, here string concatenation. Say for example, I want to do some string concatenation program. I want to read two strings and I would like to find the concatenated of two strings. Show it on the screen. This is a simple program. Click the finish button. మాకు కనబడుతున్న స్క్రీన్ ఇది.
Yes, sir.
Now this is a program. It shows like this. It takes a little bit time. right? So inside activity XML file, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll do one thing instead of typing. రిలేషన్ మెయింటైన్ చేస్తేనే అవుతుంది అది. Remove this. First text box, the second text box, say for example, one button. So say for example, here the button, right? Come to the code. Right? And the button is button. So I just drag and drop here one two text boxes and one button, right? The say for example, the third one is I would like to show the information on the screen. అది కూడా ఇక్కడ నుంచి డ్రాగ్ చేసి డ్రాప్ చేయండి అమ్మా. For example, I want to show the information on the screen by means of some static text. So I can drag and drop here. So this is a text view, which is a static information. After adding these two names, I would like to show here in this area, right? అమ్మ కనబడుతుందా ఇది? So the name here, button name is, I can make this one as concatenate, say for example. So it looks like the same on the screen, right? So come to the Java file, right? Inside Java file, first I need to define text views. For example, T1, కనబడుతుందా? And button, say for example, one button is there, button B1, and edit text. ఇవి రెండు ఉన్నాయి కదా edit text లో. For example, E1, E2. Right? So come to the Java main file. So here, take the references first. T1 dot. ఇది నేను ఈ ఫైల్ మీకు పంపిస్తాను, రైట్? ఇవి ఒకసారి రెఫర్ చేయండి. ఇది ఐ విల్ జస్ట్ కాపీ ద సేమ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. I can make arrangements. So E1, E2. So here edit text 1, edit text 2. The button B1 is the B1. I can alter inside XML file, inside code. So edit text 1 is, some is a different name here. ఇది ఏదైనా పట్టుకోండమ్మా. ఓన్లీ థింగ్ ఈజ్ ప్లీజ్ ఎంటర్ అ ప్రాపర్ నేమ్ హియర్. లేదంటే మిస్ మ్యాచ్ అవుతుంది, మ్యాపింగ్ అనేది పాసిబుల్ కాదు. ఎడిట్ టెక్స్ట్ 2. సో బటన్కి బటనే ఉంది, నెక్స్ట్ టెక్స్ట్ వ్యూకి టెక్స్ట్ వ్యూనే ఉంది. సో ఆల్ ఫైన్. నెక్స్ట్ So here, so whenever you click a button, these are the information which we need to invoke. I'll just copy here and I'll explain. So button is B1, say for example, the button name is B1 dot set on click listener, new on click listener. Right? So B1 and the toast is alt enter. Right? So here these are the import statements which are available. So we need to add one more import statement for listener class. To dot on click listener. It shows put semicolon. Right? So here I would like to read two names in the form of text box 1 and text box 2 and one button. Whenever I click the button, I need to initiate listener, set on click listener and on click listener inside on click one method. So there I need to extract the information from text box 1 e1 dot get text. Get text is get text and set text, two methods are meant for to read text from the user. Set text is to set a text to the control. So whenever you want to get any information from any text box control or text view control, we use get text. To set text, we use set text to setting purpose. So I want to read what is there inside text box 1 and assign to value 1 and the second box value to the value 2 and convert into appropriate string format. To string is we are forcing to convert into string and assign to string variables value 1 and value 2. Right? For example, I don't want this integer format, just concatenation here it is. So whenever you want to concat, we require the string dot value of no need here. I can use value 1 plus value 2. The place here it is a concatenation operator. Right? Now save the application and it is showing some errors. Okay. Constraints add చేయలేదని చెప్తాను అది. Anyhow, you run first. కంట్రోల్స్ ప్రాపర్గా ఫిక్స్ అవ్వడం లేదు దీంట్లో. So here you can see the Gradle is building, running the application. So whatever the errors you are having, it shows all the errors in logcan. And once it is done, so it looks like this. All are going to be set in the 0 position. We need to add the constraints. I'll do one thing. అది రిలేటివ్ లేఅవుట్లు ఉంటే మనకు ఆ ప్రాబ్లం రాదు. I'll just copy this information. Actually, ఇది Android Studio by default it is saying So the problem is here I am maintaining the relative layout. In the previous case, though it is a relative, but we didn't mention appropriate positions of x and y. So defaultly I just drag and drop, but it is fixing on the origin itself, 0, 0 position. Now see here, for example, enter, instead of number I can make, so the type is input number is, for example, 11 and 22, and add. You will get 11, 22 here. I'll do one thing. Here I am making this one as number. I remove this input type number and తీసేసాను. ఇవన్నీ కన్స్టెంట్స్ అమ్మా, ఇవి అవి కొంచెం ప్రాక్టీస్ మీద అలవాటు అవుతాయి. ఎంటర్ నేమ్ 1, నేమ్ 2, right, run again. So here I am entering a name, say for example Mahesh, and for example K. See here, once I click add, so I'll get a toast message stating that the concatenation of two strings, Mahesh K, like this. Is it visible? అమ్మ కనబడుతుందా?
Yes, sir.
In the bottom low, the concatenated string will appear a little bit time and dissolve automatically. So the here it is, what I did here is a very simple thing, simple application. See here, only I took two text boxes reading first name and second name and one button. That button name is, say for example, add or concatenate, whatever it is. On clicking the button, I would like to read those two names and assign to value 1 and value 2. I remove this. I just show a toast message on the screen stating that the values are what exactly on the screen. So I provide a space in between two words by using plus followed by a blank space and place. The place here it is meant for concatenating two strings. Okay, Nama, this is anonymous way of representing listeners, action listeners. The same program, if I remake, if I change into interface, by means of interface, it looks like this. So this is anonymous way. All the statements are there in line. So here it is open parenthesis, here it is ended with the semicolon. Within that we mention the on-click listener and on-click method, a callback method inside the single statement. Just go through the simple program, and whenever you are using on-click listener interface. So this is a simple scenario. I'll just end with this. So whenever you are clicking any button, we need to implement one listener, that is on-click listeners. So it comes under interfaces. Whenever you are acquiring a property from a class, we need to extend the class. If you want to get any information from an interface, we need to implement an interface. Don't confuse. There's notations are there in Java. The class is extending, the interface is implementing. So here I just mentioned b dot set on click listener and followed by this. This always refer the current activity or current object, and which will call the on click method automatically. So I'll show you a simple example. So it looks like this. Whenever you create a bundle instance and all, whenever you create a button, the button, on clicking the button followed by, and whenever you mention the listener, b dot set on click listener and followed by this, an on click view is going to be initiated. So automatically everything is going to be represented. I'll show you the same program. I remake this. See here, app activity, and here I mention implements on click listener. So add a statement here. You just add a single statement on click listener. Oh. implements, you mention view dot on click listener. Public class main activity extends. All right, I'll rename this first. I'll remove this and this. So here we make this one as outside of this and end the class here itself. Uh, End this on create method and one is outside of this, right? So here invoke b1 dot set on click listener within this. So you are initiating. So here we are implementing on click listener, which is defined inside view class. View dot on click listener. It is an interface, and I am invoking the same b1 dot set on click listener followed by this. This will invoke on click method, which is defined outside of the class. దీని యొక్క మెథడ్ బయట రాసుకుంటాం అమ్మ దీన్ని. Now the method is defined outside. It is right. One second, I'll make this clear. And this is for the class itself. Clear, Amma? So this is a separate method which is defined outside of this onCreate method. Inside onCreate method, I define one action, that is on set on click listener. The callback method is defined somewhere else outside. So very specifically you are representing, you are implementing one on click listener and you are initiating on click method, callback method. And we did the same. Only thing is you are differentiating how it is. Run the application again, we'll get the same output. So this is the difference of writing inline and explicitly. Say for example, hello, and the second one is world. So on clicking this, we'll get hello world on the screen, concatenated word on the screen. This is the second way of representing. In this, you are representing through on click listener interface. Be clear in this. The first one is online inline representation by anonymous class. Here it is on click listener interface. The third one is by means of XML. So inside XML, you are defining one attribute with the name of Android on click. So we can add one label inside XML as an attribute Android on click, and you mention appropriate method name. For example, I want to display message. That will be defined outside inside Java file as a separate sub method, and we can call that one. So see here how it is. So inside button tag, inside XML, there we can find button tag. In the button tag, you define one attribute with the name of on click, O small and C is a capital one, and mention DISP message. So whatever the name you want to provide for the method, that name is going to be defined here. The name of the method which you are going to be defined inside Java file. Say for example, here I mentioned display DISP message. So I define as a separate method inside the Java file public void DISP message, and the view which is going to be referred as a reference of view, and define the actions whatever there you want to mention inside that. So this is another way of defining the listeners. Are you clear, ma'am? So we'll work the same by means of our program. So come back here, inside button. There we can have one tag, Android colon on click. It shows appropriate information within double quote. Say for example, my display, my DISP or PLAY display, my display. So I would like to redefine this my display. So it shows create. You just click the button, it creates the information. I just copy the same information which is there inside callback method and put inside our own user defined method. Remove this on callback method. Right? Now save the code. Now save the code. Even we don't require even on click listener here. And run the application again. Here we represented explicitly the button. One second. We don't require all this for this. We are not implementing anything here. We are just adding action by means of XML file. Just run the application again and see the output. For example, Ravindra. Next one is the college. You click the button, you'll get a Ravindra College. So here I didn't mention any listeners explicitly. The things done by means of XML file. So inside XML file, I added one label, one attribute by means of on click. The listener will take place here and mention the name of the method. That method is going to be defined here with our own name. I define my display with the name of my name, which is not a callback method, but the actions are going to be takes place whatever I did in previous on callback method. So this is a three way of representing or handling the events. Any doubt in this? Please anyone unmute and speak.
No, sir.
It needs a practice. Only it needs a practice. Without practice, it's very difficult for us. But it needs a practice. So you please install Android application Studio in your mobile, in your laptop, and just practice all these sessions. Okay, ma, any more issues? Any more doubts?